the biggest shipping line made more money than Apple.
Now, you said that the adoption is slow, but let's talk about future.
So today, because of so much of geopolitical issues, people are not able to analyze what would be the freight rate next month.
We've been seeing this supply chain logistics since years and years.
Artificial intelligence is quietly reshaping the way the world works. From the way we shop and we move goods, or how businesses plan, predict, and deliver. AI is redefining the industries that once relied only on human expertise and experience. Our today's guest, Pradeep Raman, knows that shift firsthand. Pradeep is a seasoned supply chain and commercial leader who has expertise in every aspect of logistics. As a founding leader of Wiz in Singapore, he is pushing the boundaries of how AI and digital tools can reinvent supply chains end to end. In this episode, we'll talk about how deglobalization and AI are colliding to reshape businesses in 2025. Also joining me is my co-host, Mr. Akshay Raj, CEO of Uno Labs. Welcome to Data and AI Exchange by Uno Labs.
Hi Pradeep. Hi Akshay.
Welcome, Pradeep.
Good morning.
So Pradeep, I'll start with a very important question in these days with the recent events that have come into picture, right? Everyone is talking about deglobalization, which is like opposite of what was happening since last decade, right? But does it really mean the end of global trade as we know it, or is it just a shift in who controls the game now?
Interesting question, Pradeep. So, I mean, from the time India opened up in '91, right, and then we were almost, if you look at the past during the Congress government, right, we have hardly had any money to pay for any of our imports, right. So, at that point, the only way, the hope of the country not collapsing was to open up the economy, right. And from there, I think the whole world is taken so much of shape where at that point, everybody was looking at the country on its own. They were never, I mean, one country was never dependent on the country, right? From there, today, what's happened in the last 30 years is nothing is being dependent on one country, right? Right from your books to your phones to your laptops to your automobile, everything is today available global, and that was the base of the global economy. I think the whole thing has now started talking about deglobalization. Unfortunately, in the last few years, as a result of the Trump administration in the US, right? So, of course, he has his own reason, and I think your question on is it a time being thing? It is definitely a time. It is just for a mini. I think for a period of time where somebody is trying to take ownership of the globe, but. On the long run, I don't think it's practically possible to go back to a deglobalized era or a world by which you can depend on your own in-house kind of country-based produce, right? It is global today, and I don't think anything can change or take that away.
So, Pradeep, well said. Even I agree on the same point that, deglobalization won't work at all. I don't know what's the logic behind this, but yes, it is the only US who is thinking about US and Europe and thing. But the thing is, no, I think it's just a matter of time. So, before coming to this particular topic on AI and all, right, I just want to be, to understand from your side, because you are the expertise into logistics, right? So, how do you move, any object, any consignments point A to point B? Then, I'll just come from forward, on the technology side of onto this.
So, if I understand the question right, you were asking me. I think there was a lag, and you were mentioning how do you move? Is that your was that a question, or how do you move the consignment?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I think the point A to point B can happen either domestic or internationally, right? So the only difference is when your produce is basically reaching the place of manufacturing, the place of consumption. That is logistics, right? So that is what. So the process of moving it from one point to another point where where the cargo is produced and consumption is logistics. Now, supply chain is a little further to it, by which it is starting from the small nut or bolt and towards the production of a produce and how it is ultimately consumed by a consumer supply chain. So, logistics is part of supply chain, and logistics is what I basically do. So there are two kinds of logistics. One is of course called the international logistics or the domestic logistics. Domestic logistics is basically moving cargo from say a manufacturing plant in say a Bangalore, right, to a consumption plant in say to say Delhi. So let's take a small example of a Coca-Cola which is getting produced in a factory in Bangalore. It's called multiple parts. You have the soda coming in, you have the Coke coming in, you have the bottles coming in, you have the caps coming in. So basically, there will be a cap manufacturer in say a particular place in North, say Noida. So the movement of a cap manufacturer from a Noida to the plant in Bangalore is basically what a domestic logistics will do. It could be in means of truck, it could be in means of train, or it could be means of any other local means, right? If it's very urgent, it also could be in air mode. But international logistics is very different, right? That is, a country does not have the expertise of a certain produce in their own country, but they still want to consume it in their own country, right? For example, say rice. Rice is basically largely produced in India and Pakistan, but in the US, they will want to have rice because they want to consume rice. Now, if they want to consume rice, what do? They'll have to either buy it, either they have to either say, I don't have rice in my country and hence I don't have the capacity to have it, or they have to pay a huge a point of purchase for the price because it's very limited in availability of resources, right? But in a country like India and Pakistan are one of the largest producers of our India and Pakistan is rice. So rather, if they're spending more on buying a limited resource in the country, they move the cargo or they move the rice as a cargo from India to the US. Now the whole transfer of goods from one country to another country is what logistics is all about. And this could be in major modes, right? It could be in air, it could be in ocean, it could be in sea, it could be a mixture which we call multimodal, by which the cargo can move from one mode to another mode until it reaches the final consumer. So these are the various terms in technology which are in the logistics world. I hope I've answered that question, and you can ask me if I missed out on
Yes.
certain points.
No, Pradeep, it is completely understandable. So, the reason why I asked this question, just to understand, just to let the audience understand what is politics all about. I know, everyone knows about this, but the technical part of, what exactly logistics is, I just want to get, the answer from you, and that's fantastic. So, now coming back to my next question, Pradeep, we've been seeing this supply chain logistics since years and years, right? Now, at labs, we are into data migrations, data monetization, data strategy, consulting, and all. At the same time, AI implementation. So, into this logistics and supply chain, what are the best use case you see where AI takes a very vital role?
See, if you look at the overall logistics business, it's about 8 to 10 trillion dollar is the market size, right? That's the global logistics business. Now, of course, in that freight forwarding is about 300 billion. Many other resources are 300 billion, right? Now, if you look at the if you look at the oldest tradition in the world, right? If you go back to history, from the time mankind was kind of born into the world and what's happened and things like that, logistics is always been the oldest tradition in the world. The term logistics basically came from war, where they had to move from base to front, right, forward to base, vice versa. So when the army had to move, they had to move it. When they had to move, it's not about just moving themselves. They had to move the machinery, they had to move their guns, they had to move the ammunition, they had to move their water. And that particular term was basically moving it from one point to another point, and one term logistics. So it's a very old term. So it's got its pros, it's got its cons, right? The pros is because it's very old, the world cannot live without it, and that is something the world has to. I mean, everything else was new. Technology was probably 40 years old. The computers came in the early 90s, but logistics has been very old. So the adoption of technology has been literally very slow when it comes to logistics, because the people believe that irrespective of what happened, this industry was existing, right? So what? Why do we have to change it in a new way? Because anyway we are fine to doing certain things that has existed so many number of years. Why do you want to change it? So the people also associated in the logistics business are not very tech savvy, right? So if you look at the adoption of tech in our business or in the logistics business, I would say it has been at the at a least importance or least acceptability of technology compared to any other industry across the field of work or ethics which we talk about, right? So because of this, people also who work in supply chain logistics are also they're also very age old practitioners. Mindset are rather old, right? So adoption is taking little more time. But having said that, I think our adoption of technology is hardly 10%, and there is so much of work yet to be done. So technology is still a base which every industry has adopted, has seen leaps and bounds, and they have seen the advantages of being using tech. And I'm sure logistics companies also will probably follow it up. To your answer of how much AI is started, AI is started off. Of course, people have started recognizing it is still in its very nascent form, but there is still so much of progression to be done.
Okay, so Pradeep, as you rightly said, right, that this logistics has been from years to years, right? From generation to generation, it was there. So when you formed this company, Wizfry, what was the real problem statement? What you really saw and just trying to solve this out?
So, I mean, I think we are in sync with our podcast, right? One of the major problem statements we actually saw and we wanted to solve was the adoption of technology in the business. And if you look at, even if you go through your multiple sites, I think one of the companies which has actually done this very well is Uber Freight, right? It is happening in the US. Uber Freight is one of the few companies that adopted technology, and they've realized that they are able to move cargo from routes, basically in the routes. They have realized there are so many routes where cargo actually flows in one way, the other way is actually flown in empty. And because of using AI, they realize that they can use the optimal route of finding a certain means, and because of this, they are able to get a cost optimization almost 30%. So our aim of this was also very similar in means by which we are trying to tell the customers or our partners, saying that if you're using a tech-enabled freight player, you actually will start seeing a lot of difference in your day-to-day engagement of work. And by doing this, uh, there will be two advantages. Of course, your ease of doing work. You would probably see a much easier way of doing present work using the system and using technology. And the second thing is because of a size of working with a tech-enabled freight partner, you will actually see cost optimization as well. So that was a major problem statement which we thought, and that's what the reason we started off with.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks,
Pradeep.
Pradeep.
Yeah. So, Pradeep, see, there are a lot of changes that have happened in geopolitics, right? And it directly affects the logistics business, very much. Like the US-China trade war and other policies that the US has come up with very recently. Now, I want to ask you, how does it impact the cargo routes, the shipping lanes, and ultimately, how does it impact your business?
So Pratik, even before the geopolitical war came in, I think COVID has actually made a lot of the difference in the logistics business, right? And it has been actually in one of the industries. I would say only two industries really benefited in logistics, in the whole hangama of people losing jobs and people becoming redundant and things like that. Only two industries actually made money, tons and tons of money. One was the pharma, of course, we all know the reason why. COVID vaccinations, and second logistics, right? Uh, what we realized was during COVID, we realized that customers were able to pay a premium, right? The same customer who was actually he was extremely cost sensitive, where even say a dollar or two, he would say, you know what, I would use somebody else. We realized that during COVID, customers were willing to pay you a premium of even 400 to 500% because the cargo was so important globally. And I think that was the time when people really started looking at this particular industry and said, you know what, is there so much money in this industry to make? Are shipping lines or carriers or airline carriers making so much of money? And is this the main area where probably people can start investing money, right? So after COVID, if you see a lot of new technology-enabled partners or new venture capital funds or new PE funds have started looking at this industry seriously, and shipping lines or companies which have never seen profits in the last say in the last even for 30 40 years saw a kind of a profit in the year or two, which actually could make up the loss of the last 30 years. They were shipping lines, the biggest shipping line in the world, made more money than what Apple could make. Apple,
Wow.
which this is the most profitable company in the world, which makes probably they make upwards of 5 to 6 billion in a quarter, which accumulates to about 20 billion. The biggest shipping line made more money than Apple, during 1, 2, 3 years, right? So it
Wow.
was, I think, the point number one, people realized the importance of logistics during COVID. People knew that how important global logistics is, and I think after that also, to just answer your question on how much it is affected during geopolitics, during the Iran war, during the Houthis in the Iran attack, where the shipping lines were not able to use the particular route, Cape of Good Hope, and they had to go round the Cape of South African Cape of Good Hope. There was a problem with the channel of the Suez Canal. There's a problem, and because of that, it had affected the business. I'm not denying that, but on the hindsight, all of us realized that we also could, I mean, all the people associated with the business, right? Be it freight forwarders, be it airline partners, be it custom brokers, everybody thought that there was an opportunity for them to see a little more money, or little more inflow of income coming in than normal times. See, what also happens is during regular times when everything is perfect, right? Nobody there is, no, everything is perfect. The price actually comes up to the least, right? When there are limitations to the whole product, and there are catastrophes happens, that is when the best service provider comes into place and solutions come into place and thinking come into place. That is when real solutions got to a problem. That's when people start really seeing income coming in, or profits being flown in. So yeah, I hope I answered the question, Prateek, to you.
Yeah, Pradeep, but I would go deeper in this and try to understand that you said COVID was a game changing. Those 2 years were game changing for logistics, right? Now, the a surge of AI after that, right? Because we are seeing from 2019-20, from that time itself, the AI has surged, right? How does this help? Now, you said that the adoption is slow, but let's talk about future. When, let's say, the adoption increases in logistics and fleet forwarding segment, what do you think? How will this help? It's like a game changer, like a COVID, or how is it? How do you see it?
See, there are, I look at it in two ways, right? One is the adoption in terms of the partners using it, right? The other way is adopt in terms of the customer also using it. So the benefits are both ways, because there is a cost optimization when in terms of the partners using it, and that cost optimization is ultimately given to the end consumer, right? So the end consumer will probably start getting the cost benefits out of this whole adoption of AI. That's the whole aim of AI, because probably today a lot of people who are in the business are using it. It's an n number of people, right? The people factor will come down in terms of predictability of certain routes, predictability of certain cargo management, predictability of rate management, which is today even not predictable. Those things will become more predictable and become easier for somebody to look at a certain ballpark number, right? So today, because of so much of geopolitical issues, people are not able to analyze what would be the freight rate next month, because when you start doing well, suddenly there is something new coming in. Suddenly there are tariffs coming in. There are suddenly so much of blockages coming in, and hence nobody is able to give you a predictable understanding of what the freight rates will be, even say 3 months from now. Earlier in the past, people used to give you a validity of 1 year rates, right, in our business. But today, people are not even able to give you 2 months because of so much of, so many of things which are not, nobody's able to predict what's happening. But good thing is, because things are becoming more smoother, I believe that things will kind of smoothen down as time progresses. Once all those things happen and AI in place, there will be some kind of math to the madness, So although there will be madness in the business in terms of chaotic, in terms of freight, port congestions, cargo flow, and all, but there will be some math to the madness that people will be able to kind of analyze what's happening, and this will automatically have an infuse of adoption of people using AI better, and also business houses using AI better, and that becomes automatically a cost reduction both for the user and also for the consumer.
So Pradeep, I have just few days before, I saw somewhere else that in US they are just testing of of getting delivered through capsules, right? So instead of human intervention, they were doing delivery through capsules.
Okay.
So what exactly they do is, so there is a small body work. I just saw the video. It was very funny. Fantastic that there was a small cap. A small you can say aircraft, right? So the capsule fits in with the goods, right? They locate the customer, through geolocation, and they drop it and they went off. So
You
what
mean
they say is
drones?
that the delivery,
You mean drones?
it was a kind of drones. It was not exactly a drone. It was a kind of drones.
Yeah, predominantly, I think you're talking more of drone deliveries in terms of e-com business, which is now started in the US. India also has now slowly started talking about e-commerce drones, including Bangalore. They're talking about, see, because India is such a large area where today traffic is a killer, right? So today it's not about moving point A to point B or airport to seaport. From there, your last mile connectivity is very bad in India. So you probably will spend
Yeah.
more time doing the last mile connectivity than the whole flight itself. But with drones coming in and with government also giving a lot of acceptance to drones, I think that will actually be more possible and more feasible also. In fact, I was in the US last week where I'm actually quite shocked to see driverless cars, right? I mean, in San Francisco and Los Angeles, where you could actually sit down, the car actually takes you to point A to point B without a driver. That is again technology, again artificial intelligence, route management, sensor management. So those things will, in a matter of fact, come and people will start taking. In fact, it is a little more expensive than a regular driver. But eventually, what will happen is the cost optimization will take in, and when more and more AI kind of tools come in, it will have a direct bearing on the cost itself. So people will start trusting on the technology and start using it much more than human intervention. Bound to happen, matter of time.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right, Pradeep. It is slowly progressing in that direction. Yeah. I think, Pradeep, this was a great conversation. I have one last question for you, and this is a bit futuristic. If I asked you to describe AI's future in 2030, right, in one bold statement, what would that sound like?
One statement of AI in 2030, is it? I would say one word will say, make it easy and simple for all of us, but please save jobs for humans.
So, I think Elon Musk last week said something on the same lines. He said AI can be the worst or the best thing for humanity. We are still yet to see which one is it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's also
So,
frightening because a lot of number of jobs, I think, will start becoming eliminated at different levels, right? Probably you would have relationship based jobs even in our business where you need to have people interface. But anything which is mundane or which is repetitive in nature, all those jobs probably AI will probably take it away. For example, a warehouse management where there's packing, sorting, assembling, racking, and movement of cargo, where it is everything can be understood by AI and can be implemented. Those jobs probably will start being eliminated. But where you need to acquire customers and sales and have solution based thinking and having problem statements, those jobs will definitely exist.
So even I believe the same thing, Pradeep. That AI, Yeah, definitely the jobs will cut off, definitely. But the thing is, no, it will start a new job role altogether. So the thing is definitely human intervention and all, everything is needed in technology as well, right? But we have to start thinking something different lines, some different roles, some different structures, everything will come, come together. See, I was reading one of the podcast, and one of the book itself. I just find it out. Very interesting story was there, and it was I think everyone can relate to this. So in Germany, right? When the when the invention of the cars, the engines and all, right? There was a war happened in the country, civilian versus the armies and all, and it was a huge, I think till now it is one of the biggest war between civilians and the armies. The thing was, and that civilians were the horse riders, the bullock cart riders and all. So the thing is, again, nothing happened, right? Still car exists, engines, everything is. But yes, the job role being changed now. See, car definitely engines and everything made the life very easy. Now we can't even think of going, even think of having leave without cars and all. But we hardly see horses, bullock carts and everything. The thing is, those riders, those job roles, everything being changed. So it happened everywhere. When there was an invention of aeroplanes, when there was invention of this telephones, internet, every time a new job role created, definitely people has to upgrade themselves. People have upgraded, definitely they have upgraded. And this time also, I believe we don't have to fear about this AI. We just have to think about what next.
No, I
And
agree, actually.
if we are prepared enough, we are good to
No,
go.
I completely agree with you. I mean, even during computers, right, in the early 2000s when they kind of came in and the Y2K bug kind of hit in, everybody is worried about what's going to happen, right? But then I think nothing happened, right? I mean, everything changed for the good. In fact, there are more jobs which came in. So any new thing comes, there is always this kind of a notion saying that am I going to lose jobs? Am I going to take jobs? But eventually you find that I think there are new opportunities going to come in. In fact, I heard somebody talking to me in the US saying that which field are you going to take? They were talking about safety in AI, right? I mean, I only know about safety in a manufacturing zone where the safety officers go checks it. Today they're talking about safety in artificial intelligence, right? So that is a completely new field, right, which is non touched. So I think it's a lot of new jobs and new understanding will come in. Depends on how much are we able to grasp it and how much are we able to take hold of it and kind of consume it. If you are a lagger, you would probably not progress. So I think the most important thing is to have open mind and kind of take or absorb it and then move forward. I've also been telling my kids who are now in standard 10, 11, right? So whatever I studied or my wife studied is completely not relevant to them, right? I mean, I can always guide them, but what is that? None of that is going to be relevant in tomorrow's world. So it's going to be completely new. So in fact, they have to guide me and telling me, what, Dad, this is something new, and can I go ahead with this? And I will not be able to guide them. It's up to them to find out what it is and go ahead in their path of glory. But we will always tell them, yes, there is something new which I don't understand, but I'm sure that there are a lot of new things coming up. And as a new progression comes, there will be new job sources. But only thing, you'll have to be innovative. You cannot do a mundane desk job or repetitive job. I think will be of no use. Any job which use intelligence where you can do something different, jobs are there to stay. That's my 2 cents about this.
The thing is, Pradeep rightly said, we have to be now more productive, right?
Absolute.
Logical thinking, those kind of roles, will emerge. Now, that 9 to 5 job, traditional job, everything gone now gone. And in coming future, you will see those kind of, vanishing only. So the player will only survive in this market, who thinks, who do have those kind of logical thinking, problem solvers, those kind of things will come across. So we have to be, definitely have to be ready for that one.
Absolute.
We have to start
Absolute.
reading, we have to start learning on those lines now.
Absolute. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. It was a
Thanks
great
for
conversation, Pradeep.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Pradeep.
Thank you for your
Thanks for your
time.
time.